Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Let's talk about probability trees. This is the next part of the probability chapter. This is very important, guaranteed to appear in your GCSE exam every year. And we're just going to take our time and do it bit by bit. So, usually you start from a situation and they could ask you a number of things, but the starting premise is the same. So in my example here, let's say, let's pick a pen that works, that the probability that it rains on Tuesday is 0.3, and the probability that it rains on Wednesday, let's call it 0.2, okay? Probability of rain on Tuesday is 0.3, probability of rain on Wednesday is 0.2, and they could ask you, what's the probability that it rains in both days, or what's the probability that it rains on only one day, or what's the probability that it doesn't rain at all? And for that, the best thing to do is to draw a probability tree, because with a probability tree, you can see every possible outcome, and it makes it really easy to keep track of all the different possible combinations. That's the beauty of using a probability tree. Now, you need to differentiate between what are your events and what are the outcomes, okay? My two events are Tuesday and Wednesday. And the outcomes is what may happen on Tuesday and what may happen on Wednesday. And I'm gonna draw them sequentially. So I'm gonna start with Tuesday. So that's Tuesday. That's my first event. And what can happen on Tuesday? Well, it could rain with a probability of 0.3, but it could not rain. So let's call it not rain. And what would be the probability of not rain on Tuesday? 0.7. And if I hadn't done things carefully, the sum of the probabilities of all the possible outcomes of an event should be 1. That's it. I've dealt with Tuesday. Tuesday's taken care of. Now we move on to the next event, which is Wednesday. So what's going to happen on Wednesday? Well, let's find out. On Tuesday, it could rain. And then on Wednesday, it could either rain again with a probability of 0.2, or it could not rain with a probability of 0.8, because these two probabilities have to add up to 1. But then it could not rain on Tuesday, or again, it could rain on Wednesday with the same probability, 0.2, or it could not rain on Wednesday with a probability of 0.8. And that's the probability tree drawn, and you need to get really used to drawing probability trees. In the exam, you may be given the probability tree and you just have to fill in missing numbers, and that'd be nice. Or they will just give you like 3 lines of information, and you have to realize that the best way to go about it is to draw the probability tree. And then we are going to explore what traveling through the tree means and how to find probabilities and how to go about it. Let's say they ask me, what is the probability that it rains on both days? So the probability of raining both days means rain on Tuesday and rain on Wednesday. That's the only possible way it can rain on both days. So I want this and that, and. What does and mean in probability? It means we multiply. I want rain on Tuesday and rain on Wednesday. So the probability is 0.3 times 0.2, which is 0.06. So the probability that it rains on both days is 0.06. Right? What is the probability that it doesn't rain at all during those 2 days? I want no rain on Tuesday and I want no rain on Wednesday. The probability of no rain on both is no rain, and again means multiply. 0.7 times 0.8 is 0.56. So the probability that it doesn't rain on both days is 0.56. Now, they could ask you something like, what's the probability that it rains on exactly only one day? Well, if it's only one day, there are different possible combinations, because it could rain on Tuesday and not rain on Wednesday, or, watch out, or it could not rain on Tuesday, but it could rain on Wednesday. So the probability that it rains in exactly only one day is rain on Tuesday and not rain on Wednesday, or not rain on Tuesday and rain on Wednesday. If it's or, it means I have to add the probabilities. So the probability that it rains on only one day, exactly one day, is the sum of these two. So 0.38. Okay. And finally, another typical question they ask is, what is the probability that it rains on at least one day? So you need to be careful with the English. So at least one day means that it rains on only one day, or it rains on both days, because at least one could be one or two. So the probability that it rains on at least one day could be only one day, which is these two probabilities here, or the probability that it rains on both days. So the probability that it rains on at least one day is that, or that, or that, which means I will have to add all those three together. So 0.38 plus 0.06 is 0.44. So it's 44% chance. Okay. The questions in the exam, you may be given decimals, you may be given fractions. If you're given decimals, work with decimals. If they give you fractions, work with fractions. Don't change them to decimals, okay? Because you'll end up getting it wrong and your numbers in the fractions can get big. So if you start with decimals, work with decimals. If they give you fractions, work with fractions. Or if they just give you numbers, like typical questions, maybe there are 3 balls, 3 red balls and 2 yellow balls and 5 blue balls, then work with fractions, because typically that just works better. Okay, so take notes, nice and clear, nice and neat. Make sure you've understood, you've gone through the different questions I've presented. Watch the video as many times as you need, but that's basically it. These are probability trees. This is all you need to do. Okay, so good luck, give it a try, see how it goes. Bye.